opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive.
So let's take a moment right now and check in with our hearts and maybe set an intention for this morning. What good is it that you desire to experience? What quality of God would you like to have in abundance this day? So make that connection with your heart's desire, set your intention, and then be open to receiving the full and complete embodiment of that which you have claimed. So let's do that now. Yes, and so it is.
I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. Welcome. Welcome everybody here in the studio and everybody out there I'm trying to what's the word on the virtual world. Thank you. So this is the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton, and we are honored to welcome you to this service, to this celebration. And the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton is a welcoming, completely welcoming community. We exist here as love. We exist here as we like to think as most of God's wonderful attributes. And we provide you with the tools so that you can have your experience of the infinite, your experience of the infinite. It doesn't come through us, it comes to you, through you, as you. So that's it. For announcements, the Reverend Karen Kushner is our speaker today, and she's the speaker next week. And I am the musician of the day, and I'll be the musician of next week. All things being equal. So we welcome you, and I'm going to sing a song. And then we're going to have our practitioner come up and do the contemplative moment. So this is from Karen Drucker. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts, let spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real, true, and free. As I continue walking in this mystery. There may be walls, there may be roadblocks in my way, but I can choose to take a higher path each day. And now I know that what I thought was safe and sound was only habit and regret that held me down. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take taken in pure faith. And I am stronger every moment, every day. And I am stronger every moment, every day. And I am kinder every moment, every day.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I don't want to forget you. I'm Regina Quince, and I am one of the licensed practitioners here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. Welcome, everyone who is present in this room, and thank you for whoever is online. I can't see who's online, but hopefully you're there. Okay. We're going to read the statement of the day. And it's called, I Move into a Fresh Experience. So let's begin. I move into a fresh experience. I am ready for a new world of experience. The infinite mind that created me not only sustains me, but provides me with everything necessary for the greater fulfillment of my life. Spiritual ideas well up from the depths of my consciousness to inform, enlighten, and guide me in my daily experience. I rejoice the great possibilities for living. This day, I accept myself as a fresh and wonderful moment and God's idea of me. I am a continuing opportunity for self-expression and attainment of great good. All that I need for happy, joyous living already exists in mind and is now presented to me for the fulfillment of my life. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to read to you from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. And it talks about, we're going to talk about love casting out fear. Yeah. I'm reading from page 360. The Bible tells us that perfect love casts out fear, and that where love is, fear cannot remain. We can apply this principle of faith and confidence to ourselves as individuals, to our families as the first unit we deal with, and to all the people we contact in everyday walks of life. Did you ever notice the effect of just being with a person who is calm and poised and unafraid? How different you feel. How buoyed up and confident you become. Why should not each one of us become a broadcasting station for faith? But where are we going to get this faith and confidence? Tune in to the mind of God, which is free from fear and doubt. This is what is meant by prayer and meditation. For in the act of prayer and meditation, we commune with the invisible spirit. We draw its strength, its peace, and its serenity into our own souls. And as a result of this, we become strong and self-reliant because we have built up a confidence in life, a faith and conviction which wards off all fear. There is at the center of our being a strong fortress of faith, placed there by a power greater than we are, by an intelligence that knows everything and forevermore held in place by a divine presence which is God in us. It is to this indwelling God that we must turn. Love alone can bring harmony into our lives. So we say to ourselves, I lay all fear aside, and in confidence and complete faith, I turn to the one perfect divine presence, knowing that the light of truth shines upon my path, even as divine love guides me into the secret place of the Most High, where I dwell under the shadow of the Almighty. I know that there is nothing to be afraid of in God's world. Fear cannot operate in me, nor can it go forth from me. At the very center of my being, there is complete confidence, complete faith. And at the very center of my being, there is a consciousness of the protection of divine love, the guidance of divine wisdom, and the strength of divine power. And so, I turn in thought to the whole world and know that my world is bringing light and life and a feeling of strength and confidence to everyone. I turn in thought to the leaders of the world everywhere and know that love and intelligent guidance is directing their thoughts and actions. I turn in thought to all the nations of the earth and awaken in them the realization that there is good enough to go around and that there is divine government under which they all may be protected from the fear of each other. I turn in thought to the great creative imagination of the human race and assure it that there is a feeling, a presence at the center of everything waiting to make itself known. And I turn to the great God who knows all things and who can do all things and say, lead, kindly light, amid the encircling gloom, lead thou me on. And so, I apologize for the sniffling. Okay. Knowing the good, knowing the creator of all that is, the love and the peace and the harmony and the order, the beauty, the greatness that this creator creates in each one of us, a unity, a oneness that allows each one to be here fully in faith, in courage, in strength, and that this unfolds so wonderfully and easily and effortlessly into each one's experience. And it is good, and it is lovely, and it's beautiful. Each one embraces God's goodness, embodies it in each one's life, in each one's actions, in each one's behavior. And each one releases fear and doubt, anxiety, for each one knows truth, and this truth sets each one free. And with this gratitude, this word is law, and it goes forth unfolding perfectly in each one's life. And so it is. Thank you.
There's a place that we can go to, whatever race or creed. A place that we can go to, together you and me. There's a place that we can go to stand in unity, hand in hand together, for all the world to see. And that place is love. That place is love. That place is love. In the consciousness of our hearts, stand in love. Now is the time we have to make a choice, to go to fear or hatred, or give love a voice. Now is the time to stand in our belief and to hold in our minds just what we want to see. And I stand in love. I stand in love. I stand in love. In the consciousness of my heart, I stand in love. Now I truly believe that we are all one, that we can't afford the carelessness of giving hate a gun. And I stand in love. I stand in love. I stand in love. In the consciousness of my heart, I stand in love. We stand in love. Stand in love. We stand in love. In the consciousness of our hearts. In the consciousness of our hearts. In the consciousness of our hearts. We stand in love. I have the great honor of introducing the Reverend Dr. Karen Kushner, who's going to deliver a message that's going to change our lives.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to make us go through this day knowing everything we need to know.
Oh, yeah. Whether we like it or not.
That's right.
That's what we're going to talk about. So thank you, Regina and Reverend Rich, for setting such a consciousness of love in the room, because we are in an era where human beings really love love, and knowing more love and letting love change us and casting out our fear, and we kind of have forgotten about the law. And when I first taught classes in the science of mind, I was very much a student, an expert in the law, and I taught the law. And I remember every once in a while, some student would say, "But what about the love? What about the love? It's all about the law," and they would leave. And it was probably a good, 10 years into my ministry when love said, hello, it's time for you to recognize me. And I certainly had a major shift in embracing and embodying and calling upon divine love to change me and affect me and be me and let me be embodied in that. But we can't forget the law. And Ernest Holmes, someone published a book called Love and Law, but this is actually a collection of early talks that he gave in his career. So it got published as Love and Law far after his transition. But in the early days, that was Ernest Holmes. He was really trying to teach the law. And not to the exclusion of the love, but as a step, a phase of our spiritual empowerment. And we have as an example the Bible. The Old Testament of the Bible was a teaching of the law. And Buddha came to teach the law. That was their focus, because if you don't understand the law, what are you going to do with your love? So we need them both. We need them both. But so with the emphasis and the focus on love, and we're grounded in love, we want to think about today and next Sunday about where we are with our relationship to the law. So, do you love the law?
Yes.
You're all nodding. Okay, so how about earthly laws? Physical laws? How about human laws?
Not so much.
Not so much, right? So is there a difference? When we grow in love, we aspire to loving ourselves, our lives, the universe. We aspire to loving all completely. And then we have these human laws made by human people who we believe are fallible. And so there's some laws that we object to. So we want to get clearer about this, because love demands that we love all and obey love's guidance. And yet we've got these earthly human laws that you might take exception to. I'm speaking on the law these 2 weeks because someone came to me and we were talking about the law, but then also I clearly need to get clearer about the law, because I'm dealing with a homeowners association for some reason has decided to enforce the laws, the rules of the association. And so I have been the recipient of a couple of violation notices. And I'm like, I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to defend myself. And love has called upon me to say, pay attention and say, what is all this? This in you is not love at work. But it's so all that I see is me. So it's me. It's not the homeowners association and its stupid rules. It's me. So, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Where's the love? Right? Now, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, what we need to understand in the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible is everything in it is talking about the spiritual way life works and how we can use it. So even though it's giving us human stories and human experiences and human use of these laws, the laws that are revealed in it are still all spiritual laws. So what goes around comes around. It is done unto you as you believe. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The thought of an eye creates the eye. The thought of the tooth creates the tooth. That's what the spiritual law is. And Dr. Ernest Holmes said in an essay called Law, that's in this collection, there is only one fundamental formula, one fundamental proposition, one fundamental principle, and we must always be reiterating the same thing. We do not come to a metaphysical lecture to hear something new. There is nothing new to hear. We get together to discuss the same principle, to see if we can draw something more from it, which will enable us to a greater degree to use that principle. So it is done unto me as I believe. And if there are beliefs attached in our thinking to law, then it will manifest as our experience of the law. There's nothing wrong with the law. We just don't like the results. But the law is a loving gift from the divine for us to use. The law is meant for us to use for good in our world. But, Ernest Holmes also says, the same word we use unconsciously all the time, every time we speak, every time we think. We are using it in ignorance and unconsciously. And so, but the law creates whatever we say, whatever we think, whatever we believe. We've got to get that because it will never change. And so, as we become more of a loving being and experience a connection with others and a desire for greater connection, a desire to experience and express compassion and care and love and to wish the best for others and to have them experience the best. Frequently, we get tripped up by the activity of the law in others' lives, and we don't like it. And as a friend or as a loved one, we don't want to say to them, well, the reason why you're so sick is because your thinking's been sick your whole life. We don't want to say that because that's not loving to say that. And I wouldn't recommend that you do. But for our own personal experience of living, we must become aware of the law. And Spinoza's word love was synonymous with knowing. So to love the law, we have to understand it. We have to know it. And we have to, it's an infinite concept that we want to open up ourselves to understanding as much as love is. When I have, in journey of a greater experience of love, I realize I have no clue what love would have me do unless I call upon love to show me. Because as much love as I get, I know that there's infinite more love to embrace. So love can always teach me more, and I can always become more of that love, and I'm always a student. I'm always surrendering to love's guidance, to embody and embrace more and more and more. And the same too with the law. It is done unto us as we believe. It rains on the just and the unjust. We don't like that. But the law is impersonal. The love does not have special rules or exceptions. It is done unto you as you believe. And we have the freedom to believe whatever we want to believe. And all of this is given to us as a blessing. If you don't like what's showing up in your world, figure out what you're believing. I don't know. Well, get over it. Figure it out. Be a scientist, right? This is the science of mind. We are metaphysicians and scientists. We experiment. We look at the results we're getting and we realize it is done unto me as I believe. I didn't know I believed that, but what am I believing? Because it has to be what I'm believing that's creating this mess. So let me spend some time and try to figure it out. And trial and error is okay. Well, let me change it a little bit, what I'm thinking and believing. Let me see the results. Ernest Holmes in this essay says that he spent 2 years studying this law and applying it and practicing it with different results. That's how early on this work was written. And he saw how do you change your thinking? The law works as some sort of infinite mathematical equation. What you put in it is what you get out of it. And we may not be able to ever diagram or write this equation, but it exists. So we know the law of aerodynamics, right? No one knew years ago how to use the law of aerodynamics. We didn't even, in the beginning, we didn't even know there was a law of flight. Although we noticed the birds flying and we're like, ooh, magic, whatever. But as we human beings started studying and practicing and testing, what is this thing that allows flight for some objects and not for others? The more that we studied it, the more that we learned about it, the more that we, through trial and error, began able to use it. And I think we've got some pictures out there of some human beings who had looked at birds and saw the wings, and so they had fashioned, these giant wings that they attached to themselves and went, let me try this. And I remember my little brother, he's probably 4 or 5 or something, climbed up onto the picnic table and he's like, I can fly! He went, of course, he smashed, and I don't know if we had to go to the emergency room that day, but something happened. So the thing is that the law of aerodynamics, there's nothing bad or good about it. It just is. And it took we humans a lot of time, to be able to understand it enough to use it for our good. And yet, we've got a bumblebee. Which, my latest information, I could be wrong, no one understands how the bumblebee is able to fly, given our current understanding of aerodynamics. What this means is we don't understand aerodynamics completely. There's more to know. And the key is in why the bumblebee can fly. If I were into this sort of thing and wanted a Nobel Prize, this would be my life's work. Because this is a key to using the law of aerodynamics far beyond anything that we humans have used it for doing so far. And that's the law. The law is infinite. We can only use it and enjoy its good to the extent that we understand it. But even as much as we understand, there's so much more to learn. I don't know if you've noticed, but in recent years, at the end of my spiritual mind treatments, my affirmative prayers, I have said, and I release this word to the loving law. I was just guided to say that as I in my spiritual growth or whatever, started understanding this law is a gift. Love is giving us this law. And so we have, right, the key to the door that unlocks hope and fear, all in our own trembling hands. But we need to figure out how to use the key. We just had our closets retooled, right? And it's locked. We can't get in. And, we were looking around. Where's the key? Where's the key? We don't have the key. And then Dijo, contacted the person who said, oh, I put the key and it's this special, it was right there. And so then we could unlock it. But no no wanting and trying and banging on the door would open it until we found the key. And someone knew where the key was. So we got that assistance, we got the key, we could unlock the door. Yay, we got the door, we got all the stuff that's in it. But we want to accept that's the way the law is. It's invisible. We didn't get a set of instructions, which back in the day, we used to get instructions with equipment. Remember that? You'd get a book, a car manual, right? You don't get them anymore. Right? You're like, how do I, whatever? You got to watch a video now. There's like, oh my God. Recently, my homeowners association was doing an inspection of our smoke alarms and our fire alarm detectors, and they had to be a certain way. And I had some old ones up that no longer worked, so they seemed to say. And so I had to figure out. So I got the manual for the type of smoke alarm that was installed in my home online, and I read it, and it didn't answer my question. Most importantly, how do you get the thing off? But that's another story. But it didn't. The instructions weren't complete. So we have to accept we don't have instructions. We have to figure it out. And the thing about the reason why this is appropriate, though, is because only I know what I'm thinking. Only you know what you're thinking. Only you can figure out the train of your thought. Only you can know, I was thinking this way, and then I had this thought, and then something different happened. What we usually experience is in our unconsciousness, right, is we have a train of thinking, la-di-da-di-da, and then something happened. And it takes a while for us to become aware of what our train of thought, to realize there had been a shift. Something new, a new thought had entered our mind. And we didn't do anything about that new thought. And so, boom, it demonstrated. And so then when we become aware of that's happening and accept it, we become more aware of our thinking as it's happening. So that when we have a new thought present itself, a suggestion, right? We're in a room full of people and someone sneezes. You know what you think, right? They're sneezing. Especially these days, right? And that's a new thought that's been introduced into your thinking. Yes, the person sneezed, but your thought about it is living in you. And when we're aware of this activity in ourselves, we can choose a different thought than the thought that just popped up in us. So for me, if someone sneezes and I have that thought, whoa, then I am aware. It's developed through my work at trying to understand how my thinking creates my world. It wasn't overnight, but I'm aware of it, and I now choose to say, I am perfect, whole, and complete. I watch commercials on television, and I'm saying, I am healthy. I am perfect, whole, and complete. Because that train of thoughts that are happening, I get to manage what's entering into my thought. So the law does unto me as I believe, and yet I do have choice as to what I want to think as the next thought. But we have to develop the awareness, right? Right? How many of you have been able to develop the awareness of what you're thinking as you're thinking it, and know when, I ought to do something about that thought, right?
Yeah.
Right? Some people are still working on it. Don't put yourself down if you're still working on it, because this is infinite, right? So you want to get aware. How was I thinking? How was I thinking? And because the law responds to us, when you start asking the question, how was I thinking? The law starts working in bringing to your awareness how you've been thinking. It is done unto us as we choose it to be done. So when we say, I am aware of my thinking as it happens, the law creates that awareness in us. So that's our first step. We've got to be aware of how we're thinking. Always. Wherever we don't like something that's showing up in our world, we need to become aware, what have I been thinking? Because I now need to change it. Oh, but it's too much work. Too bad, says the law. Whatever you want, says the law. It's your choice. You don't want to put in the effort? That's okay. I love you anyway. And I'm going to create for you what you're thinking. Right? How many of us are mad at the law? For me, the law, my experience of the law was my parents, and they were disciplinarians. This is the way you live your life. So as I was raised in that environment, and then my school was also heavy duty, much more than my parents, God bless everyone. They really, this is the way it is, or else you get shook, until your eyeballs pop out or whatever. That was considered to be a loving way to raise children back then, right? Spare the rod, spoil the child. It was a thought. And we see the results of that thought. So for me, the law became my experience with adults, authority, rules, earthly rules. And so for me, the natural growth of we in our unfoldment and development is at a certain point is we receive the gift of being able to choose. Somewhere, well, it used to be 12 years old. It's probably younger now, right? We realize I can choose. And, but the authorities around me didn't like my choices. So then there was a battle. But that's necessary for us to understand the law and our relationship with the law and our relationship to other people and our understanding that we do not have to agree with other people, even though they may have control over certain aspects of ourselves. What we are supposed to be learning in this teenage trial and error phase of understanding the law and our relationship with the world, what we are supposed to be learning is that there may be temporary restrictions on my movement because of the conditions of the world around me at this moment as a child, according to the laws of humanity I'm not an adult until I'm 18, blah, 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 but I can't drink till I'm, 21 here in New Jersey? What's that about? But if I'm in Italy, hey, as a baby, have a big, lovely little sip of wine here. So we have to learn that even though everyone around you is insisting that you think a certain way, you don't have to. And so we then begin to learn how to operate with people who temporarily have some sort of control over our conditions, but not forever. And yet we can still choose to think what we want to think. I listened to a call-in radio station that has a couple of the speakers on the radio seem to be saying, watch out when you send your kids to college. College is no good for them. It'll give them, it'll brainwash them with other ideas. So, homeschool and don't send your kids to college, and that's the way to live. Yes, very, very good sound thinking for parents who want to have total control over the thinking of the kid. But no matter how much they want control over the thinking of the child, right? All of you were children, you know, they didn't change your mind. Something you were clear about, you just went underground and you just waited them all out, and you just waited till you had earthly authority over the conditions of your life, and then you seized it and did what you will with it. Probably made a mess, but you learned from it, right? And here we are today. Right? Trial and error, trial and error. The law is trial and error. Now, yes, love is still there. Love will always guide us in our choices and our use of the law, but we have to obey the law in order to be able to ask love to help us, to say, divine love, given my circumstances, I got another photograph of some violation. Love, what should I do? What should I do? And for me, love has usually been shut up and obey. And I'm like, oh, it's going to come, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. As I was speaking to someone this past week who was dealing with rules and policies, employment, blah, 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 I had this revelation that at our current level of understanding, of consciousness, at our current embodiment of love, the earthly rules are there to support us in our good. This too is God. This too is good. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it. Oh, beloved Homeowners Association. And I feel the childishness in me. The angst I went through about the smoke and fire alarm detectors. The research I did. The research was one thing, but the argument in me was draining, exhausting. I went to different home support stores. Some of them I don't like anymore because I don't like their laws, their rules, whatever. They were nicer, whatever, they helped me more. Look, it is all done to me as I believe. And so at the point that I finally accept the divine love's guidance, which clearly was, shut up and get your new detectors. But the money, the money. Ye of little faith, do you believe that I will not support you with the money to pay for that which is good? Is it a good idea for you to have a working smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector? Well, based upon human laws, yes. And I'm living in a human community. Get with the program. I'm not totally there yet because we have another inspection coming up. Our decks. And I've already had issues with the Homeowners Association about my deck. And they're wrong. So they're having an inspection. So I'm like, the same old argument. I'm like, Karen, this deck inspection is for your good too. So I went out last week and I cleaned it off and I took a good look at it and I took a good look underneath it and I looked at it and I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? This deck probably needs to be replaced. And my next thought was, how can I hide it from the homeowner's inspection? They're going to have an architect come, or whoever, somebody come to determine. And I'm like, how can I fool them? I actually had the thought, maybe I can get fake wood and kind of attach it, like to the pilings underneath, like maybe some fake wood around and kind of make it age a little bit, but look like it's sturdy. When actually, it kind of looked like it's rotting. I'm like, and then I'm thinking, huh?
You're broadcasting.
Oh, I'm broadcasting. Oh, and it's public. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm thinking. So again, I felt all the blah blah blah. Same argument about the smoke alarm detector and everything else. And this is just another in a series of issues whenever they want to inspect anything, right? And I'm like, this too is God. What's the spiritual principle here? This too is God, this too is good, this too is for me. I demand to see the blessing in it. Well then, what's the blessing? This deck has been bothering you unconsciously for a while. You never use it. Why don't you use it? Because it's ugly. Why is it ugly? Because maybe it needs some work. But the money. Oh, that's it. And not just the money. And then the process. You got to get a contractor. You got to check them out. They got to do the work. You're not going to like what they do. Then they charge more than they estimated. And then you got a big mess. And then they disappear. And then the homeowners association doesn't like what they do anyway. And again, it is done unto me as I believe. Do I want that? What's the answer? Shut up. Shut up and let divine love guide me through this earthly experience. So, our topic is loving and obeying the law. This is part 1, loving the law. We have to understand it on all its levels, even human laws. And I know that there are some of you who do not like some of the laws that are present in the world right now. Just like with human beings, we are demanded, only if we want a happy, complete life, to love everyone. It doesn't mean we accept and approve their behavior, but we want to love the essence of their being. And so with laws, we want to unite with the spiritual quality that this law is attempting to express. So not what's being done with it now, but what is the good that was the motivating force in creating that law, in humans creating that law? What was that motivating force? Health, safety, well-being, in all the cases I shared, right? And so as you connect with that divine impulse moving through human beings at their level of understanding, created whatever got created, but when you connect with that divine impulse, we are lifted up from the paradox of, I hate the law, I love the law, I don't know what to do, it's a bad law, the good, blah, 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 blah. No, we come up to that divine quality, the good upon which all can agree upon. And when we connect with that, then the divine love and that divine quality will show us how to walk the rest of the way. And so when the fire marshal marched through my house inspecting my detectors, I was divinely guided by love to say what needed to be said and to not say some of the things that came into my mind. And so I passed. And my next door neighbor, he asked me to let them into his house. So the fire marshal went into his house and he went, "Oh, skunk." I'm like, I don't smell anything. He's like, my neighbor had dogs and they were locked up, and whatever. So he checked the guy's smoke detectors and he's like, well, it's either skunk or there's something wrong with the furnace. Where's the furnace? And I knew that they were also looking around, right? So I said, oh, well, the furnace is in an outside locked room. We can't get to that. But I also know that if any dogs were to be skunked, it would be his. And he's like, oh yeah, it's skunk. So I even said for my neighbor, divine love guided me to say what needed to be said for his home to pass inspection too. Right? We obeyed the law. I obeyed the law. But divine love helped me. Right? Does that make any sense?
Yes,
We got to
very
think
much.
about this. So for this week, our homework is to become aware of the activity of the law in your life. What do you like? And especially, what do you not like? If there's a condition in your world that you don't like, absolutely. Where is it? Okay, next week I'll say the other thing. If we don't like what we are experiencing, accept it is your unconscious thinking that's doing something to create that. Just own it. And then call on divine love to show you what you need to know. Love and law. Divine love. Show me what I need to know about my thinking so that I can get a different result in my use of the law. So that I can move my use of the law from unconscious thinking to conscious choice. Right? Right. So that's our homework, and then next week we'll see how we did. So let's move forward. Reverend Rich is getting ready to sing us out of here. So let's do that, and away we go.
So this is a tune that is not played usually in Science of Mind churches, but it is played at Unity. I used to play it when I played in the Unity Church, and it's 50 years old or more, and I think it's not a bad tune. And it's very apropos for what's going on in the world. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my sound now. Take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Yes,
Right.
I love that. That was written by some star, right?
Cy Miller and Jill Jackson.
Oh, but it was sung by some star.
God, I don't know.
Yeah, it was. All right, so right now we're going to do our giving, and I'm going to read from the law of giving and receiving by Ernest Holmes. Everything in nature moves in circles. What goes out must come back. Unless the seed is sown, it cannot bear fruit. There must be a planting time for every harvest. Those who give all, receive all. Those who refuse to give limit the possibility of the greater good returning to them. Love, and you will be loved. Extend joy, and you will become more joyful. The law of circulation exists. The law of circulation exists. And we are absolutely so grateful to all who contribute to the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. That's how we get to broadcast and spread our practices and what we understand about God and God's consciousness in us as SNLers. So if you are inspired to donate to the Centers for Spiritual Living Princeton, you can, in your browser, type in CSL Princeton, that's all one word, .org, and hit that donate button, and we appreciate it. You can go ahead and
Grateful, 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 yes, I'm grateful, 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 yes, I'm grateful, 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 yes, I'm grateful, 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 yes, I'm grateful.
By Deepak Chopra. I will make a commitment to keep wealth circulating in my life and in the life of Center for Spiritual Living Princeton. I added that. By giving and receiving life's most precious gifts. The gifts of caring, affection, appreciation, and love. Each time I meet someone, I will silently wish them happiness, joy, and laughter. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well,
You doing your closing thing?
You can do a treatment.
Okay, I'll do a treatment.
Great idea.
Right? So, right, what does the spiritual mind treatment do? Directs the law. And the better spiritual mind treatment given is when one connects with love and allows love to guide the words that direct the law. That's what we do, right? Okay, so I'm connecting with the love. All right. Okay, so this word is being spoken for each one. Divine love, omnipresent, desires to express its goodness in, through, and as its creation, which is each one here. And it has given to each one the complete and total authority over their experience of living. Each one has complete and total authority by being able to direct the creative law through their own internal thinking, feeling, believing experience. And so each one is now more aware of this gift, this blessing of this law that will create for him or herself regardless of what the rest of the world is doing, and in spite of what the rest of the world is doing, and without the rest of the world even seeing what one is doing. Each one is able to direct the law by connecting with their heart, with their soul, with that divine urge within, and choosing intelligently, with the presence of wisdom's guidance, choosing that correct sequence of thought that shall produce for each one anything, any condition that he or she desires to experience. And so each one is more aware of this now than ever before. And so I release this word to that loving law that says yes to this word I have given, and manifests it in the experience of each one. I let it go, and so it is. And that's the way it is. So it is. Okay. All right, so thank you all for coming. And Laura from Italy, ciao. Yes, Scott and Lynn, and I know Jeff was out there somewhere, so thank you all for coming. Goodbye.